Hi, I'm going to start chapter 1 of class 11, that is the living world. The first point in this chapter we need to know is about the scientist Ernst Mayr. For NEET exam, these names are important. Ernst Mayr is known as Darwin of 20th century. Darwin of 20th century. Now, he gave this biological concept of species. So what concept did he give? He gave biological concept of species. Now, before proceeding further, I would like to explain what is this biological concept of species. So, according to this concept, which is given by Ernst Mayr, the species are a group of interbreeding natural populations, means those populations which can interbreed naturally and that are reproductively isolated from other such groups. Now, this concept was applicable only for sexually reproducing organisms. Those organisms which do not reproduce sexually will not have the application of this concept. Now, the second point we have got is the word is there in the NCERT, inanimate matter. So the meaning of this word inanimate is required here. Inanimate matter means non-living matter. Clear? This word is given in the NCERT. The third point we have got is the basic properties of living organisms. One of the important point of this chapter, the first half of the chapter, that is basic properties. Basic properties. Remember, from this point, questions are asked usually. So basic properties of living organisms we are going to discuss now. Organisms. Now, the first property we have got is the definite organization is there in the individuals. So we can say they have definite organization. The second property of living organisms is cellular nature. Means all the organisms are made up of cells. They can be unicellular or multicellular. The third property we have is they show coordination between different parts of the body to maintain homeostasis. So we can say they show coordination. Coordination for what? Coordination for homeostasis. What do you mean by homeostasis? Homeostasis means the constant internal environment maintaining. So they maintain the constant internal environment. This phenomenon is known as homeostasis. Now, the next basic feature of the living organism we have is the fourth one. They have the ability of movements and locomotion. Now, in case of plants, we know that they cannot move from one place to another. But in case of animals, they can move from one place to another and they show locomotion. So this two words, that is movement and locomotion, have slight differences between them. Movement means just changing the posture also, but in case of locomotion, there should be a change in the positions. So movement is shown by the plants, like when the wind comes, the plant moves in different directions, the plant parts moves in different direction. But in case of locomotion, the organism should move from one position to another position. Like the animals show locomotion, but the plants do not. Now, after this, we have the fifth point, that is show metabolic functions in the presence of energy to generate energy. Metabolic functions. What do you mean by metabolism? Metabolic functions means all the reactions, all the activities going on within the body are included under metabolic functions. These metabolic functions are done by the use of energy and they produce energy also. Now, the sixth basic feature we have is that they have the ability of internal growth and development. So what is the next feature? They have the ability of growth, that is internal growth, means growth from the inside of the body is there, and along with that they have another property, that is development. Now, the next basic feature we have is that they have specific receptors like sense organs which receives the internal and external stimulus, and they have specific effectors also like the muscles, glands, which give the specific response. So we can say that another feature is presence of specific receptors and and what was the another point? Another word. It was effectors. Means those which are going to receive the signals, and the second word effectors means those who are giving to reply for those signals. So the next we have got is, or the next feature we have got is that they have regulatory mechanisms. Regulatory mechanisms, for example, the nerves and hormones in case of animals. In case of plants, we call them as plant growth regulators, or in general, you call it as plant hormones also. Now, these regulatory mechanisms are used to maintain homeostasis inside the body. So the next point is what? Next point is regulatory mechanisms. Now, after this, we have the next basic property, that is they show adaptations to their environmental conditions to increase their chances of survival. We know that those organisms which are more fit for the environment will survive. Those which are unfit cannot survive. So the living organisms show adaptations. They have adaptations. Adaptations to what? Adaptations to their environment, to their environment. Okay. Now, what is the reason to get adapted to the environment? Because they need to survive, and if they are not adapted to the environment in which they are present, they cannot survive. The next feature or the next basic property we have is that they show variations which help in speciation and evolution. So I'll first write the point, then I'll explain the terms here. So what are they showing? They are showing variations. For what? They show variations for speciation, and what is another word? Evolution. Now, let's get introduced with the first, with these three words. The first one is variations. Variations means changes in the genotype of the organisms. So they show these changes in their genotype for speciation. Speciation means formation of new species. Remember the meanings of these words. They'll be used further in the chapters, in the upcoming chapters of this 11th portion and the 12th portion also. So these variations or changes in the genotype are used for the speciation, that is species formation of new species from the already existing species, plus evolution. Evolution means we can say that the formation of the advanced organisms is there. Then the last basic feature we have got for these living organisms is that they have reproductive powers. It means that they can continue their species, their own race. So they have reproductive powers. Reproductive powers. Now, we have discussed total 11 points here as basic properties of living organisms. And now I'll be discussing some of the characteristic properties which are given in the NCERT and from which the questions are also asked. So let's start with the first basic property we have got here. The first one we have is growth. The first one is growth. Now, what is the meaning of this growth? Growth means increase in the number, increase in the mass, increase in the size. So we can say that this growth is a twin character. Twin means it includes two characters. One is increase in mass, another one is increase in number. So we can say that if there is increase in mass, then also the organism grow, or if there is increase in number, then also growth is there. Hence we call growth as twin character. Then the second point about the growth is that the growth in the case of multicellular organisms. Now first we'll talk about multicelled organisms. And then the growth takes place when the cell divides and add to the mass present already over there, increasing the mass of the organism. So in case of plants, remember, they have unlimited growth. They have unlimited growth. What is the meaning of having unlimited growth? It means that the organism will keep on growing throughout the life. So in case of plants, the plant keep on growing throughout its life, except some parts of the plants are there which stop growing at a particular stage of the life. Then after plants, we have the second group of living organisms, that is animals. So what about animals? What sort of growth do they have? So they have limited growth. For example, let's take ourselves itself. We grow up to a particular age and then we start aging, means we stop growing and we go towards the senescent stage, and ultimately the animal dies or we die. So remember, the plants have unlimited growth, whereas the animals have limited growth, means they will grow up to a certain stage of life. After these multi-celled organisms, we have the next group of organisms, that is the unicelled organisms. Unicelled organisms means those organisms which are made up of single cell. For example, let's talk about the bacteria. If I say that one bacteria is there and it is growing, it means what? That bacteria is actually increasing the number of cells by division. So remember, if I say that a bacterial culture is growing, it means that the number of cells is increasing over there, and that number of cells is representing the growth of that bacterial culture. Now, the next point we have got for this growth is that in case of unicelled organisms, the growth and reproduction are mutually inclusive events. They are mutually inclusive events. Inclusive events. So this word mutually inclusive events means that the two activities here in the unicellular organisms, growth and reproduction, is actually happening at the same time. So when the number of cells increases, that increase is done by the cell division, which is also a mode of reproduction in those unicellular organisms. So this is one important point, that they have mutually inclusive events in the form of growth and reproduction. The next we have got is multicellulars or multi-celled organisms. In case of multi-celled organisms, this growth plus reproduction, or we can say this growth and reproduction, are mutually exclusive events. Now, you might have used this word exclusive in number of times in your life, but what is the meaning of this word exclusive? Here, this line means that in case of multi-celled organisms, the growth and reproduction cannot take place or cannot happen simultaneously. Either these multicellular organisms will grow or they will go for the reproduction. Clear? Now, the next point we have got is about the non-living things. Now, till now we were discussing about the living organisms. Now, if we talk about these non-living things, then what? Do they grow? Non-living things, do they grow or not? Yes, non-living things grow by what method? They grow by accumulation. Accumulation means collection or deposition, we can say, of materials over them. Accumulation or deposition of material. For example, sand dune will grow when more and more sand will deposit on that particular sand dune, right? So we cannot say it's not growing. Of course it is growing, but we know that it is a non-living thing. So we can say that the growth exactly is not a property of living organisms, but in particular, if we talk about intrinsic growth, then remember this intrinsic growth is fundamental character of livings. It is fundamental, means it is seen in all the living organisms, fundamental character of livings. So we can conclude here one point, that this growth is not a defining property of living organisms. So I'm going to write the conclusion here in front of this first word, that is growth, that it is not a defining property, not defining property of livings. Clear? Now, why do we say that it is not a defining property of livings? Why is this thing? We are saying that it is the intrinsic growth which is fundamental character. The reason is that when we are specifying when we are speaking growth as a defining property, we need to actually specify the conditions of observations, which without explaining the conditions for observation, we cannot say that it is a defining property. Remember the last point about the growth, that is the dead organisms do not grow. Clear? So here we are done with the first character of the living organism. The second one we have got is reproduction. Reproduction means production of progenies of similar type. Reproduction is actually a fundamental character of living organisms, means it is not found in any of the non-living objects. So first point we have got is that it is fundamental character of livings. Remember, no non-living thing reproduces. Okay. Now, in case of reproduction, there are two types of reproduction. That is sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction is there. In case of sexual reproduction, this gametes formation takes place and the gametes will fuse to form the zygote from which the new individual is born. Now, in case of asexual reproduction, the genetically identical progenies are being formed. For example, the fungi reproduces by asexual spores, yeast and hydra by budding, fungi, algae, mosses by fragmentation. So in details about the reproduction of different organisms like sexual and asexual reproduction, we'll study in the upcoming chapters. Now, as I told you, no non-living object reproduces, but in case of living organisms also, there are some particular exceptions. These exceptions are belonging to the living organisms which cannot reproduce. For example, the mules, the combination of horses and donkey, the hybrids, to be more exact, the hybrids of donkey and horse, then the sterile worker bees, sterile worker bees. So in case of honey bees, there are three types of bees: the worker bees, queen, and the drones. Drones are the male honey bees which are fertile. Queen is fertile, but these worker bees which are female are the infertile bees. Then we have the infertile human couples. The last example for us is infertile human couples. So there are certain couples which cannot give birth and they are known as infertile couples. So at the end, we can say that reproduction is also not an all-inclusive character of living organisms. So I'll write the conclusion here in front of the word itself, not an all-inclusive. Remember these conclusions also, as the direct questions are asked on these conclusions. Inclusive character of living organisms. Okay, now after this we have the third property. The third property we have got is metabolism. Metabolism. We use this word sometimes in our daily routine also, like basic metabolic rates and all. So what is the meaning of this metabolism? Metabolism is the part which includes all the chemical reactions which are occurring in a living organism. For example, in a human being, whatever the reactions in all the cells are going on, they are totally known as or combinedly known as metabolism. This metabolism is seen in all the living organisms without any exception, in all living organisms without any exception. Right? Now, if we talk about the non-living organisms, then no non-living organisms show metabolism. No non-living object. There is no non-living object which will show metabolism or these reactions. But remember, these metabolic reactions or these chemical reactions which occur inside the living organisms can be demonstrated outside the body in a cell-free system. So the isolated reactions or these isolated metabolic reactions can be said to be neither, means they are neither living nor non-living. The isolated metabolic reactions are neither living nor non-living. Clear? This is one point you need to keep in mind. But if you change, or to be more exact, I say if you add two words in this statement, that is isolated reactions in vitro conditions. In vitro conditions, if the isolated reactions are done in vitro conditions, then what? In this situation, in vitro conditions, these isolated reactions are definitely not the living things. They are not living things, but they are not living things exactly, but they are living reactions. But they are living reactions. Remember these points. Questions can be asked, and if you miss one word, then you will get the wrong answer. So we can say that this metabolism is a defining feature of life forms. So we got the first character, which can be called as the defining feature. Defining feature of life forms. Clear? Now, after this, we have got the fourth character. This fourth character is cellular organization. Cellular organization. Remember, you need to learn these conclusions along with the reasons why they are called or why they are not called as the defining features. Okay, so cellular organization means the formation of the complete organism by the cells. So all the living organisms are made up of cells. They can be unicellular or multicellular. So we can say that it is a defining feature. It is a defining feature because there is no living organism which is not made up of cells. Then we have the fifth character for us, that is ability to sense and respond. Sense the environmental signals or the internal signals and give responses to them. So it is ability to sense and respond. Right? So this is quite complicated feature of living organisms, and this is done by sense organs. By sense organs. Now, the stimulus which is received by these sense organs can be physical, chemical, or biological. For example, we have these seasonal breeders. The seasonal breeders can be plants or animals, and they breed according to the photoperiodism. At a particular period of time only, they will breed. In case of plants, this seasonal breeders means those flowers, those plants which will flower only at a particular duration of the year, at a only particular season when they get the appropriate duration of the light they are required. So all the organisms, all the living organisms, whether they are plants or animals, are aware of surrounding. They handle the chemicals in body and they maintain homeostasis. But remember this one point, that only the humans are the organisms which are self-conscious or which show self-consciousness. Right? So this one point you need to remember, and hence we can say that the consciousness or the ability to sense and respond is actually a defining property of living organisms. It is a defining property of living organisms. Right? So we can say that the living organisms are self-replicating, means they can make their own copies. They are evolving, means they evolve themselves, makes themselves better. Then they are self-regulating, means they can maintain homeostasis. They interact with the systems capable of responding to external stimuli. So here we have concluded this first half part of the chapter 1. Now I have few questions for you. The answers will be given later, but first I want you to read the questions, understand and answer them. Then I'll tell the answers also. So the first question is, metabolism comprises, I'll be writing the question also, metabolism comprises, means metabolism includes, option A is digestion, option B is gaseous exchange. Think and answer. This is a sort of practice at the end of the topic, which will be included in all my videos for all the chapters. So second is gaseous exchange. The third one we have got is excretion, means elimination of waste. And the option D we have is energy exchange in cell. Energy exchange in cell. So you might be having a notebook and pen in your hand. Just write question number 1 and write your answer in front of that question number. And at the last of this video, we'll check the answers also. Now, after this, we have question number 2. The most important characteristic of living organisms is. Now, before knowing the options, you cannot tell the answers. So let me first write the question. The most, you also keep writing these questions, that is more better, or just take the screenshot, that will be better, so that you will have the record of these questions also in the form of question bank. The most important characteristic of living organisms is, the first option you have is multiplication, means increasing the number. Second one we have, that is B, is movements. I explained the difference between movement and locomotion, so hope now onwards you'll not get confused between two. Third is growth. And the fourth one we have, that is D we have, is protoplasm. Okay, so write question number 2 and write your answer in front of that question number. Next, I'm going to give you question number 3. I have total questions, 4 questions for you. So question number 3 is, what represents steady state? So question is, what represents steady state? Steady state means the stable state is there. Option A is there. That is intake of food material. Intake of food material and gases. Option B you have is, option B is elimination of waste materials. Elimination of waste materials and gases. Think and then answer to avoid the wrong answers. Third one is intake of materials. Energy and elimination of waste products with energy. So option C says that there is intake of energy plus there is elimination of energy. Is this possible? D is none. And now we have question 4. Make sure you write the question number 3 and the answer in front of that. And then we have question 4. It says that biology is the science of very easy question, no thinking required. Biology is the science of, first option, life forms. Second option, living process. Third option, that is option C, is both 1 and 2. And option D is none. Means none of the option is correct. So I hope you have written all the answers along with the question number. So now it's the time to know the answers, and now on the screen I'm going to write the answers along with the question numbers. Question 1, answer is various energy changes in cell. So option D is the answer. For question number 2, the answer is option D again, that is protoplasm. For question number 3, answer is option C, where intake of materials plus energy and elimination of waste materials plus energy. Question number 4, answer is option C, that is biology is the science of living processes and life forms. Please subscribe this channel to get such interacting videos along with the questions. Do like this video and share with your friends to help them out with the topics required for the NEET. In my next video, I'll complete the remaining portion of this chapter.